Hello, my lovely, beautiful Tauruses. Welcome back to the channel. I would like to say I am starting your reading at exactly 111 on April 1st, so 111 on 1. I just thought it was funny. I thought it was fun. This is going to be your weekly readings for April 8th through the 21st. Let's go ahead and start pulling your cards here, Taurus. Starting off strong with those divine counterparts right at the very beginning. You have the King and the Queen of Swords popping out. All right, we got week 1 here. Let's talk about week 2. Let's get week 2 out here for you, Taurus. Wow, okay. I am going to pull some oracle cards for you real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get started. While I am looking at your cards from right here, there is big transformation happening internally for you right now, Taurus. There is a lot going on inside. Isn't that always happening? I know that's so vague. We'll get into it more as we go. So, starting off, I pulled your oracle cards. Let's start with those because I like them. We're starting off with the Ant Spirit for you, Taurus, which says time to collaborate. Time to collaborate. Get with others, get with people. I mean, we had that divine counterpart there. Some of you, your divine counterpart doesn't necessarily have to mean like a partner or spouse or, things like that. It can mean getting with someone who understands you, getting with a friend or a family member who really gets you. Time to collaborate with the people and energy going on around you. Your next card here says the Elephant Spirit. It says learn from the past. Time to collaborate, learn from the past, and then your final card there says Bat Spirit, which says a rebirth is assured. So yes, as we said, we were talking about things changing, things transforming on the inside. Aries kind of had a similar energy of this, transformation happening here. This butterfly experience of the chrysalis, the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and the butterfly essentially. So yes, there is a major rebirth happening inside of you right now at this time, Taurus. It looks pretty positive looking at everything right here. I know I wiggle around a lot during my readings. It's because I'm a little wiggle worm. I have to move around a little bit. It actually kind of, I don't want to complain. I don't want to say it sucks, but sitting in a chair all day, I don't know how office people do it, you guys. Because this is like as close to an office job as I've ever had. I've worked retail like my whole life. Or, service industry type stuff. And I've never had a job where I sit for most of the day. So like this sitting thing, this like sitting in a chair and talking to you guys, it's really different. I'm almost thinking about like maybe a standing desk would be cool, but I don't know. Maybe I definitely need to do more yoga so that I'm not so uncomfortable sitting all day. Enough about me. Let's get started on your cards. We're starting off week 1 on April 8th. You have the King of Swords. And I totally, now that I am thinking about it, I completely forgot to mention anything at all during the Aries reading. But April 8th is actually a solar eclipse happening in the sign of Aries. This is actually the new moon. That's when solar eclipses happen because the moon is, completely showing us its dark side. There's no sun showing any sort of light on the moon, right? So this is the solar eclipse happening in the sign of Aries. So this is a big time for starting new, making changes. And the eclipse cycle happens kind of in this 6-month period of time, right? So we have eclipses in the Aries on the Aries Libra axis for this year. So we're right now in Aries, we have this, solar eclipse happening, and we'll have an eclipse later on in the sign of Libra further on in the year. So, it's about this 6-month time period of change, of transformation, of things being illuminated within our life. So all this stuff starts to change. All this stuff starts to happen. This rebirth essentially. Things are going on and changing and happening for us. And over these next 6 months, we're going to see big expansion of growth, especially if you look in your chart where Aries or Libra falls, the houses that they fall, it's going to be happening over those two pieces of your chart. So for example, if you have, you know, Aries in the first house, this is the house of the self, the house of you, of how you show up in the world. So if you have Aries in the first house, Aries rising, you know, a lot of you are going to be finding changes happening to yourself and how you present and show up in the world. And on the flip side, Libra being in the 7th house, this is about, you know, how you show up in love and community and the, you know, things like that. So check out your chart. If you do, great, cool. You know, you don't have to, but just being aware of where these things are happening for you can kind of give you a little bit of a tool, a little bit of insight to figure out how to approach these changes coming up. So with that tangent, with all that being said, Taurus, you have the King of Swords for April 8th, right on that new moon in Aries. So this signals a fresh start. This signals a big change about being able to, you know, leave the past behind, learn from the past, but leaving it behind in a way. Moving forward into some fresh energy, because Aries is actually the start of the astrological new year in a way. It's the fresh start, the first sign, the baby of the zodiac. So Taurus, a lot of you are moving into, with this eclipse, you're moving into your King of Swords energy. You're moving into this idea of what you could look like as this person of influence. And the King of Swords is someone who is clear-headed. They are someone who is very logical with their thinking, with their actions. They're someone who knows what they want and they go for it and they know how to get it. They are very diplomatic. And, you know, sometimes it can kind of have this rigidity about it. A lot of people think that this King of Swords is, you know, someone who doesn't have as much passion, who sometimes can like sacrifice their emotions for the sake of logic. But really, this is about using your mind to its greatest potential, using your abilities within your thoughts to its greatest potential. So a lot of you are seeing yourselves brought into this place of influence, or at least that is what your intention is, to bring yourself up to this place of the King of Swords. Your very next card, however, is the Queen of Swords in reverse for the day following this eclipse. So, you know, some of you, it could be saying that you still have quite a ways to go. It could be saying that you have to deal with this Queen of Swords energy first before you can fully move into this King of Swords energy. But I feel like this Queen of Swords in reverse, this is actually your relationship with your emotions. So you know how I kind of said that that King of Swords has this reputation about being someone who kind of sacrifices their emotions a little bit? The Queen of Swords is someone who knows usually how to use their emotions to their potential. They're able to read their emotions in a logical way and be able to work with it. They're not disconnected from it. They're not, you know, they're also not someone who acts on it, right? Because sometimes, like, the emotions, we can end up in this place of, like, identifying with them, thinking that, you know, because we're angry, it means that we're a bad person, or because we're sad, it means that we're, like, not worthy, or whatever the case may be, right? Sometimes we can identify with our emotions and think that our emotions make us who we are. And normally the swords is that logical point between the two. It's a logical point of understanding that your emotions are actually trying to communicate and show you something. And with this card being in the reverse, you are disconnected from that piece of yourself. You're disconnected from the message that your emotions are trying to tell you, the things that your emotions have to say. You know, anger is often said to be an emotion that tells us that change needs to happen. You know, sadness is an emotion that tells us that we need to take a break and feel things so that we can, you know, heal and move on. And interestingly enough, your card following that is the Ten of Swords in reverse. So you had King, Queen, and 10. Like, you had, the only one you were missing is the, you know, the Page and the Knight of Swords. But really, you have, like, the three most influential cards of the Swords suit here. And the Ten of Swords in reverse is saying, Taurus, you have probably gone through something very recently that has been pretty painful. And in fact, this Ten of Swords is indicating some sort of ending, right? So some of you went through some sort of very painful and maybe abrupt end to something here. I feel like with that Queen of Swords, emotionally, you may be telling yourself that this happened for the best, or you're trying to, like, rationalize your emotions. You're not feeling them. This ending with that Ten of Swords could have been something that was, like, as we said, very painful, something that you didn't want to have end. Or even feeling like some sort of betrayal in a way of like, this thing ended. You didn't expect these people or this thing to happen the way it did. Yeah, I feel like you are trying to rationalize your way out of this pain. So you're telling yourself that this betrayal that happened, you're trying to tell yourself that it wasn't as important. You're trying to tell yourself that it wasn't as impactful. That you have no right to feel angry or upset or hurt by what happened for some reason. I can't quite figure out why. Just by looking at these cards. And of course, you know, this is a general reading, so I'm not going to be able to pick up on every single person's individual energy. But I feel like a lot of this is just that, you know, you're telling yourself that you don't have a right to feel upset about this, that you don't have a right to feel, you know, hurt by this thing that happened. But Taurus, you definitely do. You have the right to be upset. You have the right to honor your emotions. Don't let other people tell you that it has to make sense. You know, our emotions don't have to make sense. And we can honor our emotions without, you know, being caught up in them. We can honor our emotions and hear what they have to tell us without it meaning anything. I mean, it means something, you know? It means something. You're hurt, but it doesn't have to make sense, you know? You're allowed to be hurt and have it feel irrational. It doesn't mean you have to act on it. It doesn't mean you have to do anything about it. But you are allowed to have feelings, Taurus, no matter how much you try to logic your way out of it, no matter how much you try to distance yourself and say, oh, I'm not allowed to feel this way because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. You're allowed to feel the way you feel. Now we move from the Ten of Swords into reverse to the Ten of Pentacles in the upright. So we move from 110, the 10 of Swords. And swords are, you know, thoughts. They're about our things within our mind. But the Pentacles are physical things within our reality. They're physical things within our world that we can, like, see and touch and feel. And, you know, it's about money. Yeah, it's about wealth. But wealth is more than just about money. You know, it's about our resources, our time, our physical energy. Like, time is one of our most important resources, and our physical energy, that's a resource too. The amount of actual physical ability we have within ourselves to be able to do something, right? So even though you are struggling with this thing, this hurt that has happened, I feel like that Ten of Swords has happened in the recent past for you. I don't feel like it's something that is currently happening. Like, I don't feel like that Ten of Swords is coming in as something like right now that's happening for you. I feel like it's something from the recent past. But the Ten of Pentacles says that, you know, you have more abundance than you realize here, Taurus. You have a lot more at your disposal than you really think you do. And, you know, it's almost like making lemons out of lemonade is kind of what I'm seeing. Is that, you know, you may feel very emotionally, or not even emotionally, because I was saying emotionally separate from this. But you may feel very, how do I say this? I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Yeah, this is literally like the thing, like, you feel like you don't have a right to be upset about this, but the Ten of Pentacles is also like you trying to more bring your focus to what you do have. So, you know, that is a good thing. Fixing your focus on what you do have. There are things moving positively for you, because that Ten of Pentacles is about your legacy, essentially. It's about what you want to bring into this world, what you want to leave behind. It's about having enough, having a solid foundation. Even though this hurt has happened, you're still in a good place financially. At least you're still in a good place with your foundation, with your time and resources, at least. You know, maybe this ending felt very painful, but it opened you up to be able to use your energy elsewhere. I don't know. Let's keep going, because you actually have you have the Nine of Pentacles later on in this week, and I want to really get to that, because I feel like that's going to kind of help piece together this feeling a little bit. When I'm doing these readings, right, I'm sometimes I get, like physical images in my mind about things, but most of the time it's like actually figuring out the internal feelings. When I see a card, I see it and I think it and I feel it, and trying to translate this feeling that I'm feeling from reading these cards. Translating this feeling can be a little bit difficult sometimes. I am autistic, so that kind of throws a wrench in it sometimes a little bit, but anyway, let's keep going. We have the Knight of Wands in reverse for your very next card here. Now, this tells me that your confidence from this Ten of Swords in reverse, whatever this betrayal, or I keep saying betrayal, it feels like a betrayal to me, but really, it doesn't have to be a betrayal. It could be some sort of recent hurt. It could be some sort of thing that didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to. The Knight of Wands in reverse, this is your confidence. So even though this betrayal happened and you have all these resources still with this Ten of Pentacles, a lot of you just, your confidence has been so shot. Like, the things that you thought would happen, you thought that you would be able to make this thing happen or that it would turn out differently. And the way that it turned out, it's left you feeling as though you don't have the ability to turn it around. You don't have the ability to, like, it's just your confidence. It's the way that you carry yourself. You're just feeling very insecure, I guess. It's not so much insecurity as it is like the way that you feel about yourself. Learn from the past. So, I don't know. Learn from the past and time to collaborate. A lot of you could feel as though you can't collaborate moving forward. That could very well be your trust for other people, but I feel like it's mostly your trust for yourself, Taurus. Trusting yourself to be able to build this thing. The wands are our influence. It's our ability to manifest. So your ability, your confidence in being able to manifest things for yourself is very challenged at this time. Very off. Goodness. This feels very confusing. It could just be you feeling very confused. You being very confused about how to handle this, how to feel about this. I feel like a lot of you feel like you don't have the right to be upset. And like I said earlier, you have every right to be upset. You are allowed to have whatever feelings you want, even if they don't make sense. Even if you're trying to logic out, what makes sense for you to feel, it doesn't have to make sense. Feelings are weird. They come and go, and they have these weird things, and sometimes we think it's one thing when it's really another feeling. And Taurus, I just feel like your ability, your confidence in yourself, your ability to manifest is feeling very challenged at this time. It's so strange though, because like I said, we move on from that to your Nine of Pentacles here, and you have the Ten of Pentacles. So like, money, yeah. Money is not the problem for you right now. Your resources are not the problem for you. In fact, it feels very abundant. Like I said, like those two cards are some of the best cards of abundance in the tarot. Like the 10 and the 9 of Pentacles. The 9 of Pentacles is independence. I mean, literally, that's like a rainbow and a peacock, which is like a sign of, wealth. Like literally, the rich and the wealthy were the ones that had peacocks as pets. It's about having so much that you can flaunt it. And flaunting kind of has this, this air of like arrogance and, showing off to it. And the Knight of Pentacles, normally in the upright, this card is a person who is very confident in themselves, almost to a point of like annoying how confident they are with themselves and their ability to do stuff. And I just feel like it's such a weird feeling of having so much, of having these things, but not having what you need in here. You have what you need physically. You have what you need money-wise. You have what you need resource-wise, but not inner resource, not heart resource. Some of you could be throwing yourself into work too hard to try and distract yourself from this feeling. Your last card for week 1 here is the Two of Swords. Now, this is kind of that point between these two pieces, I feel like. The Two of Swords is about being at this crossroads, right? You have equal force in opposite directions. And when that happens, you're at a stalemate. There's not moving happening either way. There's two pieces that feel like they have equal weight, equal merit. So, you know, as we said, the emotions on one side, the thinking and feeling and things happening over here about how you feel. And then on the one side, you have your logic. You feel like these two things are separate and they're pulling you in different ways. Like, as we said, it feels like you have abundance in other areas. And yet at the same time, it feels like you don't, Taurus. So I feel like, yeah, you're definitely in this like stalemate energy of having and not having. Abundance and lack. Wealth and poorness. Poverty? I can't do words very well. Yeah, Taurus, it's such a strange energy happening here. It's definitely this point between like what you feel like you're allowed to feel and what you're actually feeling. There's this stalemate going on. Let's go ahead and move on to week 2 because, like I said, I'm feeling very confused. So maybe we'll find clarity in week 2 here. Starting off with your first card for the week, you have the King of Cups. This is your emotions. And like I said, you have the King of Swords starting on week 1, and your first card for week 2 is the other king. You have your thoughts and your feelings, and they feel very separate. I feel like you think that they're supposed to be separate. Like you can't have feelings and logic at the same time. And that's just not true, Taurus. You can have both. You can feel and be logical about it. And in fact, the King of Cups is someone who's actually pretty logical about how they handle their emotions. They allow their emotions to flow, but they don't identify with them. And in fact, in the original Rider-Waite tarot, this is someone who is like on an ocean, on a throne. And the waves are happening around them, but they're not in the middle of them. They're like in the middle of the ocean on top, but they're not being capsized. They're not being brought either way from their emotions. Their emotions are flowing around them, but they're not choosing to engage with them in an unhealthy manner. This is someone who understands the waves, the ebb and flow, and it's very logical in a way because, you're connected with your thoughts, you're connected with your love and your heart, essentially. The two don't have to be separate. I feel like part of you thinks that they have to be separate, Taurus, but they don't have to be. You're allowed to feel and you're allowed to have your logic about it. You can still feel and be logical about understanding that, they're not you, and feeling them is actually part of being able to deal with them. Feeling them and allowing them, you can't out logic your feelings. You have to feel your feelings. And you have the capacity here, since both of these cards are here, you have the capacity for logic as well as the capacity for your feelings and your emotions. So Taurus, I feel like you feel like the Two of Swords really feels like that bit between thinking and feeling, and they don't have to be separate. You can think and feel. You can be logical and feeling and emotional about something, and it doesn't have to make sense. And really, moving on to your next card here, you have the Five of Cups in reverse. And this card is all about perspective. This is all about understanding the two sides of the same coin. When you look at this card, if I turn it sideways and you look at this card, you have your cups here. You have more cups in the upright than you do in the reverse. And you have this beautiful sunrise, and it's meant to represent being optimistic, thinking about things moving forward, and, just being positive on the outlooks of things. Meanwhile, when you turn this card the other way, it's very dark, and all your upright cards are now in the reverse. They're all pouring out, and you actually have, only 2 cups out of the 5. You have less than half of them in the upright, turning it this way. And yeah, it's saying that your perspective is something that needs adjusted. And in fact, the Five of Cups in reverse, because this card showed up in the reverse for you, it can indicate that your perspective could be very skewed in this moment, thinking that, you know, you're not allowed to have feelings. It also can indicate a shift in your perspective or needing to shift. So, yes, it could say that, you know, things are feeling very, very weird for you at this time. Things are weird. Let's talk about your next card here. You have the High Priestess. Ooh, let's stretch. You have the High Priestess, and this is about your intuition, Taurus. So, the High Priestess, I mean, when you look at this card, the High Priestess literally has her two hands out. And it's this balance. It's literally the balance between thinking and feeling. It's your intuition. And your intuition isn't something that exists. It exists outside of you in a way, but it exists internally too. It's literally this point between heaven and earth in a way. Your third eye receiving informational downloads from the universe into your being. It's receiving something from outside of you. But we only perceive it as separate. We only perceive it as something outside of ourselves. So Taurus, even though you're struggling with these feelings right now, you're struggling with your ability to kind of logic out what you're feeling. And as I said, you can't out logic your feelings. The High Priestess is that ultimate knowing about this. So some of you on this High Priestess card on this Wednesday here, you could actually be achieving a point where, you know, you have this realization for yourself about your emotions, about being able to feel and think at the same time. It could also be that, you know, that spiritual download in a way that reminds you of where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do. Your next cards here are very interesting. Oh, okay. Some of you, let's talk about this, because you had the 10 of the 9, and actually this is the 8 here, the 8 of Pentacles for your next card after that High Priestess card. And now that I'm seeing it, some of you could be very well, actually, the thing that you're struggling with could actually be work, could actually be your resources. In the upright, it looks like it's fine. Maybe actually you might be struggling with a job that from the outside looks very, very lucrative, looks very good for you. You could be making a lot of money and feel very, you know, cared for financially. But are you being cared for emotionally? Are you being cared for, you know, has your work betrayed you in some way, or a coworker? Have you been passed up for a promotion that you were promised? Did a coworker, or, you know, even sometimes some of you could have actually been like fired in a way. Doesn't even necessarily have to be work though, because as I said, Pentacles are more than just about money. It's about resources. So time and energy. A lot of you on the outside, it could look very, very good. But I feel like on the inside, some of you could actually be struggling with it. You're trying to logic yourself into thinking, no, this is a good job. This is a good opportunity. This is a good place for me to be. Even though it's taking a lot of my time, even though I'm, you know, stressing myself out, or maybe in some way it's not a good environment, an environment that promotes trust for you. You're trying to logic yourself out of these feelings that you're feeling, but I feel like part of you could maybe be understanding that this place isn't really meant for you. But you're trying to like logic out your brain and think that, you know, things are better than they really are. But the High Priestess, you had that High Priestess card like we were discussing. Your intuition knows when something is for you, and your intuition knows when something is not for you. And some of you could be coming to this realization that this thing is not for you in some way. Now, like I said, job probably could be a lot to do with your work, but that just feels so shallow. I feel like it's not just work. It's more having to do with your place that you're at. Some of you even, this actually could be a relationship with that King and Queen of Swords for your first two cards, that's actually divine counterparts. So some of you, this could actually be a relationship in some way. Understanding that, you know, you're in a good relationship, like money-wise. You're in a good relationship with your resources together, but there very well could have been some sort of betrayal that shot your confidence and makes it hard for you to kind of leaves you feeling very confused about what you're supposed to do. But connecting with your heart with that King of Cups shifts your perspective so that you can listen to the High Priestess, your inner High Priestess, about your intuition, about what is for you. All from the Eight of Pentacles in reverse here. The Eight of Pentacles in reverse, this is the work that we put in towards building the Nine and the Ten of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles? Tentacles. We have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, then the 9 and the 10, right? And so the Eight of Pentacles is the work that we put in towards our independence, towards our future, and the things that we want. And with this card being in the reverse, it's almost like looking at it and saying, was this thing worth it? Like, you have worked so hard towards this thing. Like I said, a job. Some of you could actually have physically worked very, very hard in this company for this place that you've been at. Or, as I said, a relationship. Some of you could have been working very hard on building this relationship from the ground up. And relationships don't just have to be, you know, romantic. This could be a relationship rebuilding a friendship, rebuilding a, you know, connection with a family member that maybe you were estranged from, that betrayed you in some way. You've been doing a lot of work. That Eight of Pentacles is that person who shows up every day and does the work. They put in the effort because they're trying to build something good for themselves. And on one hand, yeah, on the outside it looks really good, but on the other side it also doesn't. You know? Is it really good for you if you're getting good money but people don't respect you? Is it really good for you if you're getting, you know, good notes on paper about it, but you're not getting the emotional fulfillment that you need? And that leads you to your next card, which is the Tower card. And the Tower card gets such a bad rap in the tarot for being like a card of change, a card of destruction. You know, everybody sees the tarot or the Tower and they're like, oh my gosh, something horrible is going to happen. And it's like, that's not really what it's about. It's about when things get built up bigger than what they're meant to be. When things get built up to this point of like extravagance, or, you know, bigger than what it needs to be, things have to be brought back down. Things have to be torn back down to the studs, to the foundation. It can feel very chaotic. It can feel very painful or crazy and destructive at the time, but really it's making space so that you can build something new. It's the big change that happens that, you know, brings about. It's literally the event that brings about change. It feels chaotic because things crumble down, but it crumbles down so that you have the opportunity to rebuild. Taking the things that are no longer working and saying, they're no longer working, let's get rid of them so that we can do something different. So some of you, you've been working very, very hard towards something, and the Tower moment is the moment where you say, this isn't working. Things are no longer worth it. I'm putting in so much effort to something or someone that does not respect me, that betrayed me in some way, that does not care about me, is actually something that may be actively hurting me, or had in the past with that Ten of Swords in reverse, something that hurt you in the past. And the Tower card is kind of that moment where, like, enough is enough. It doesn't matter how much time and energy and effort you've put into it so far. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And the High Priestess knows that. The High Priestess card that you had earlier, Taurus, is, you know, you're the knowing. The knowing that this thing is no longer working. That the work that you put in towards it, yeah, you worked hard, but not everything's meant to happen or work out a specific way. And the Tower card's that moment of things kind of crumbling a little bit, but it's crumbling with the intention of better things to come. Your next card here is the Ace of Swords in reverse. So That Tower moment can kind of leave you with this directionless feeling. The Ace of Swords, the King of Swords literally wields the Ace of Swords. You had the King, the Queen, you had a 2, and the Ace. So you have a lot of Swords energy. There's a lot going on in your mind right now, Taurus, with your thoughts. The way that you're trying to think things through. I feel like you could have been trying to logic things so hard. You've been trying so hard to think things through and to think about what you want. Think about how you're going to figure things out. And the Ace of Swords is literally like that aha moment. It's the tool of your willpower. Because it's not just about your thoughts, right? The Ace is the action. The Ace of Swords is literally an action. The slicing moment of cutting through the BS. It's your tool of action to get something done. And I feel like the Ace of Swords after the Tower moment, a lot of you could definitely be trying to figure out where the heck you go next. What the heck are you going to do next? Where do you even start? What's your next thought? What's that thing that you can grasp onto that's going to help you get through this? I mean, that Ace of Swords, yeah, you're feeling very, very lost. It feels like a lost opportunity. I feel like some of you are really, really, really working very hard towards this thing. If this was like a relationship, like a friendship or something, a lot of you feel as though after this Tower moment, there's no piece to go back. That Ace of Swords is literally like the piece that you're hoping to salvage from that Tower moment. And that brings us to your final card here, Taurus, with the 10 of Wands in reverse. This is about laying down your burdens. You had the 10 of Wands in reverse, and you had the 10 of Swords in reverse. And Taurus, your reading is really, really interesting to me. This is a really intense reading. The 10 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, laying down your burdens. Laying down the things. It's almost like, I'm getting this like idea of like, when you see the 10 of Wands, that's a person carrying a bunch of baggage, carrying stuff on their back, carrying all these things around with them. I feel like it's after the Tower moment, though. So some of you could be trying to salvage, trying to carry around these broken pieces of leftovers from this thing that happened. But I feel like really you need to let go. Learn from the past. Learn from the past. Learn from that Tower moment. Learn from the 10 of Swords in reverse. Learn from the things that happened. And a rebirth is assured. That Tower moment is literally like the opportunity for rebirth. It's tearing things down so that things can be birthed anew, so that things can be brought into something new. The 10 of Wands, I feel like you're trying to hold on, Taurus, but really you need to let go. You're trying to hold on to these things, trying to hold on to this world around you, but really you're upside down. There's literally no stability to be found right now. There's no foundation to put your feet on because everything was brought down with that tower. It's time to move on. It's time to take things somewhere new. Go on this. I feel like you're getting ready to go on a journey to find this Ace of Swords, to find that thing that gets you this inspiration. Not just inspiration, because like Wands is your inspiration, but the sword is the action. The sword is like the conviction, really, of you having, something to fight for. Taurus, Jesus, dude. Let's go ahead and pull a final card for you, Taurus. This is from the Universe Has Your Back deck. And I want to just pull a card for you for some inspiration, some message from the universe to help you keep going. Your card that you got, Taurus, says, I recognize that I have chosen fear and I choose again. I choose love. So Taurus, you're going through a major transformation right now. I mean, a rebirth is assured. It's assured, but it doesn't mean that it's happening right now. In fact, you're in the middle of the process. As I said with that, at the very beginning of your reading, I mentioned this you know, the butterfly and the chrysalis. And as I said, with Aries, it felt very much like that too, but I feel like that's kind of what's going on here with you as well, Taurus, except you find yourself in the very beginning. With Aries reading, it was a little bit different, but in this moment, Taurus, I feel like, you know, you are in this stage of preparing for a rebirth. Things are being brought down. This is really like, your entire reading feels like the death card energy. It feels like something is ending, obviously, as we said with that Tower card, and literally the Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords is all about endings. It's all about things coming to an end and death, essentially. And it's part of life. It's part of this cycle. You know, things die, but even though it dies, the death of something else can lead to the birth of new things. It can lead to nourishment for new life. It's literally the birth of new things coming from death. I recognize that I have chosen fear, and I choose again. I choose love. So Taurus, love for yourself, love for your community, love for the things going on around you. You can operate from a place of fear of what you're going to do, how things are going to be handled from here on out. But you have the opportunity to choose again at any point. At any point on this journey, you can choose again. You can choose to restart. You had that learn from the past card, and yeah, stuff has happened, but you have the opportunity to lay stuff down. Lay down the stuff that is burdening you. Lay down the stuff that is keeping you stuck. And choose again. So anyway, Taurus, that is where I'm going to leave your reading for this week. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you all again in the next reading.